Good morning. We are here at Mountain Title Company where their main interest is protecting yours. We are with Val Smelzer, President, CEO, Commercial Title Officer of this wonderful business. And then we have my partner in the agency, Janet Duffy. She's going to kind of lead us ahead and tell us about the kind of the closing and title process 101.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah.
And thanks for having us, Val.
Thank you, Janet.
Cool. Because we've had a lot of conversation before we came on camera. So Comparion Insurance Agency and Mountain Title are both preferred partners. We work with NeighborWorks to do home buyers education. So this is an extension of that work, because one of the things that we've ran into as we've done our presentations in the class are a lot of questions about title companies. What does a title company do? Why do you need them? They're the mysteries because you're at the very end of the process.
We are.
So the seller doesn't meet you. They meet everyone else but you, probably.
Yeah.
Yes, so we work together with the lenders, the realtors, the support agencies like NeighborWorks, and our job is to kind of coordinate everything and bring everyone together and do the final documents, get everything searched and recorded, and do the transfer of title, and ultimately we insure title for both the lender, NeighborWorks, and the home purchaser.
Now explain to them what insuring that title means.
Okay.
It's separate from insuring the home.
Home, right.
So your type of insurance, which is, for hazards that occur in the future, so you're going to be looking at fire or hail damage or things like that. A title company actually looks at risk from things that might have happened in the past. And so you can, when you go purchase a home, you can see the beautiful landscaping, you can see all the bedrooms and the lovely kitchen and all of that, but you can't see what has happened to the title in the past. And that title might be, it might be encumbered with something. So we're looking to see if there are any mortgages that haven't been paid off. We're looking to see if there are any interests of people that have not been conveyed. Maybe somebody died, somebody was divorced, somebody had kids in the probate that were not addressed. Maybe there's a fraudulent conveyance and we're looking for forgery, things like that.
Right.
Child support, that people don't understand that child support creates a lien on the property, but if your child support is in arrears, then that is a lien, and no lender wants to be in second position to thousands of dollars of back child support.
Or a mechanic's lien, just for a roof replacement. Yeah.
Wow.
Right, if there was something like that. And one of the examples I give when I'm at NeighborWorks is, Todd, you might remember this if you were in the industry back in the 80s, and I don't remember that, but there was this man who came to town. We had a lot of foreclosures in the 80s because interest rates were high, like they are now. And so those were HUD, Housing and Urban Development loans, FHA loans, that were foreclosed. And so this guy came to town and he purchased a bunch of foreclosed properties, and each time he financed those properties, but then he skipped town and he took the loan money and never remodeled those homes. So he had ordered supplies from local contractors or suppliers and then didn't pay for those. So all of those properties had construction liens.
Oh my God.
And what people don't understand is a foreclosure doesn't eliminate a construction lien because it has priority over the bank's loan.
Exactly.
So we're looking at all of those kinds of things to make sure that title is clear.
And then in the background, I just want to explain how hard you guys work. I mean,
I was going to say that.
Oh, people don't think we work at all.
the title company, I mean, they are getting an old reconveyance from possibly a closed bank. They are going and finding that death certificate to release that ownership of that person.
Being private investigators.
We are.
Absolutely.
Title
That is what the title
investigators,
company is
sure.
doing in the background. It's a lot of hard work. So just kind of elaborate on that a little bit, because I don't.
Well, and we do search the public records. So that's what a lot of people, they feel like, well, can I do this myself? Well, certainly you could, but you won't have any insurance coverage at the end.
Right.
And there isn't a bank that is going to offer
Be
a
okay
loan.
with somebody doing their own research because everybody thinks it's like finding insurance online. I mean, it's very similar.
No,
Well, you have to be familiar with your area and familiar with your county records.
Now explain to them what that insurance does. In the event, not your title company, but if anybody around the world were to make a title insurance mistake and they didn't happen to get free title, what does that insurance provide to the consumer?
Title insurance actually is going to cover against a lot of different losses, and those would be fraud and forgery, they would be missed mortgages, easements, and a lot of people don't know what an easement is, but it's a right to use somebody else's property for a specific purpose or a specific amount of time.
Like access to their home if it's across someone else's
Right, or a
property.
shared driveway.
Boat docks on Holter Lake.
Yes, things like that. So if any of that is not found, so a title policy is going to show you who owns the property and the legal description, and then Schedule B actually shows the exceptions to title. So there isn't coverage for these items. Well, if there isn't coverage, people think, well, then what I want it for? You just eliminated everything I'd want coverage for. But it's giving you a heads up ahead of time. You see a title commitment, which is an agreement to insure under these circumstances. Right. So if those exceptions to title are not something you can live with, then you work to get those eliminated prior to closing.
Right.
Or if they can't be eliminated, that might not be the right property.
Right.
Exactly.
That might
exactly.
be a deal breaker
Yeah.
for the buyer. And then the other part of that is, I mean, there's so much that we have so much we could cover.
Yeah.
And we need to come back for 2 more. That being said,
We could do this all day.
that's my
That's
point.
amazing.
That's my point.
And we all have turkeys to put in the oven
Right.
eventually or before Thanksgiving.
So let's talk about when you get to close, because that's when people meet you. Like that's
Right.
when all of a sudden Val becomes a person, and all of that hard work that you've been doing pays off. What does a seller or a buyer need to bring with them or expect it? What can they expect at
They need to
closing?
bring at least one form of identification that has a photo of them on there, and that we can use as a notary. You can use an ID that's like a year old, or I think up to 3 years old, but we need to have at least one, and depending upon their lender, and hopefully they've shared that with them. Some require 2 pieces of identification, so you should be prepared for that. And you also need to bring certified funds, and so that means funds that are either in the form of a cashier's check or wired to our trust account. And the reason for that is we need to pay the seller that same day. And we need to have those funds be clearing the bank. And if it's a personal check, then we have to wait sometimes up to 5 days before it can clear. And you know, that's the critical piece. If you want to move into that home today, your seller's going to want his money the same day.
You want your keys.
Right.
Exactly.
So some of the individuals expressed nervousness going to the closing, and I wanted them to kind of meet you and your personality, and to see, you know, this office and how beautiful it is, and that it's not a scary process. I mean, you're greeted at the door. Can you kind of just explain? I mean, it should be the most exciting day of their life if they're purchasing that first home, or maybe a second home, or I just want to relieve their nervousness, if that makes sense.
We try to tailor our closing to whomever we're with. So like if we're with someone who is a seller who is elderly and they've raised their family in that home,
It's
it's
so
a
emotional.
very emotional time. And sometimes, you know, they're going to cry. But, you know, I've lived in my. I know, but we try to be compassionate in that regard. And then when there's someone who's buying a new home, like you said, Todd, it is a very scary process, and the anxiety over having that commitment to those kinds of payments sometimes can overwhelm the whole idea of this is exciting and I'm getting my new home. And so we go over those documents very carefully, and we explain what each one is, and we take the time for them to ask questions. If they need to read, we give them time to read it. So we're going to try and make that whole process be something that they're comfortable experiencing, and when they leave here, the excitement can be the big piece.
Right, and they can go home to their new home. Right. That
is the
makes it all worth it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
wow. Well, we could go on forever, but we want people to watch the video
And not think it's continuing yet.
That's right.
So, thank you, Val, for
Thank
your
you,
time,
Janet, and
for
thanks-
having
Yep,
us
absolutely.
here, and for helping us understand the process a bit better.
Yeah.
You did a great job explaining it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Title insurance is a needed item during your closing process. Thank you.